When we look at the biblical kings, one stands out. His name is King Hezekiah. He was the son of Ahaz. He was born in 741 BC, and he was the 13th king of Judah, according to the Hebrew Bible. He is described as posed as one of the best written figures in biblical history, due to the extensive documentation of his reign in the biblical text and external sources, notably the Assyrian inscriptions. His reign was marked by significant religious reforms and his revolt against the Assyrian Empire. He witnessed the destruction of the northern kingdom of Israel by the Assyrians, and he also later faced the Assyrian siege of Jerusalem in 701 BC.
To fully grasp the complexities that Hezekiah faced, we have to look at the Assyrian Empire. During this time, the world's first superpowers were ruled by King Sennacherib. Not only was he powerful, but so was his wife, Narki-Zukutu. She was the most influential woman in the Neo-Assyrian Empire, serving as a secondary wife, mother of King Esarhaddon, and grandmother of Ashurbanipal. She was exceptionally powerful, commissioning building projects, issuing her own treaty, and holding massive wealth.
Narki-Zukutu and her husband were prominent figures during the reign of Hezekiah of Judah. She was in the Assyrian court during Sennacherib's reign, which included the famous siege of Jerusalem in 701 BC, when Hezekiah was dealing with her husband, Sennacherib.
The story is extremely compelling, not only with the basically central protagonist of it all, Hezekiah, but also with the, I suppose, supporting roles and the people that are involved, all historical figures. Not only itself, its geographical position, but also remember the Assyrian kingdom at that time, well, in modern day, would have been northern Iraq. And there is no historical record whatsoever of these two men meeting. None whatsoever. He did meet with his officials. Hezekiah did meet with the officials alright. There was tribute paid at one particular time point, but actually meeting, no historical record. As was said, the story goes back to the boy called David. In actual fact, there's three of them involved in this particular story, isn't there? The Saul, Goliath, the giant, and the boy called David. Why David? Because the scripture tells us that Hezekiah did what was right in the eyes of the Lord, as his father David had done. Now, David wasn't his father. He would have been about approximately 13 to 15 generations removed. But he was in the lineage of David, the king.
Ahaz, Hezekiah's father, the 12th king of Judah, is described as a wicked king who worshipped idols, practiced child sacrifice, and closed the temple.
Ahaz yielded to the glamour and prestige of the Assyrians in both religion and politics. He went to Damascus to swear homage to Tiglath-Pileser and his gods, and taking a fancy to an altar which he saw there, he had one made in Jerusalem, where he made it a permanent feature of the temple worship.
We take a look closely at Ahaz as Hezekiah and the vast difference between the two of them. We have to ask the question, why? In modern day thinking regarding the father and son relationship, it has shifted from the traditional position where the father was sole provider, protector, and that was his role, and that's how he lived life as that particular model.
Modern father and son relationships are undergoing a paradigm shift, in that the relationship is moving toward a more emotionally stable environment. Modern thinking emphasizes vulnerability and active nurturing. This is to break the cycle of hardened masculinity. This often left boys unattached to their emotional side.
From Bogotá, Colombia, to the favela in Rio de Janeiro, to the tough streets of New York and the cities across the world, we will find hardened kids who may have a different tale to tell. According to new research, growing up in a tough area can impact how a child's brain operates. It can change the interaction among brain areas related to planning, establishing goals, and self-reflection. These alterations in the brain can impact cognitive abilities and overall well-being. This often leads to increased risks of mental health challenges, such as anxiety, depression, and ADHD, alongside behavioral issues and difficulties with social trust.
During childhood and adolescence, our brains are dynamically developing. In this phase of life, we refer to the brain as being particularly plastic, meaning it is susceptible to change as a result of experiences. Exposure to the neighborhood's tough environment may alter brain development. If a child is told he is no good and he never will be, his brain undergoes developmental miswiring.
So the question is, in all our modern research, where do King Ahaz and Hezekiah fit in this story?
They fit into the story based on one word: contrast. In our modern world of modern thinking, they would make great case studies. Why? Because although one was a father, he was a king, and the other was a son, he was also a king, and they reigned in the same territory at approximately the same time. Obviously, there was a death that separated them, but the fact is that remains is one was known for his wickedness, while the other one was known for his godliness. One shut the temple, and the other one opened it.
King Ahaz of Judah sought help from the king of Assyria to escape the allied forces. Despite prophetic warnings against relying on foreign powers, Ahaz sent messengers to Assyria, offering tribute using treasures from the temple, resulting in increased Assyrian oppression, not relief. The ancient Syrian religion was polytheistic, featuring a complex mix of Semitic, Amorite, and later Greco-Roman deities. The gods that Ahaz worshipped. What he did was evil in the eyes of the Lord. He was considered one of the most wicked kings due to his extreme idolatry and child sacrifice. He burned his sons in fire as offerings to pagan gods, built idolatrous high places in every city, closed the temple of God, and sought alliances with Assyria.
When we keep in mind that this man, who was described as a very wicked man, came from the lineage of King David, who was, as a boy, the boy who brought down bears. He killed lions. What would it have been like for a young boy to see a bear coming at him? But yet this is what this man came from. This was his heritage. The man who God called a man after my own heart, referring to David. Jotham, his own father, was a righteous and godly man. So when we look at the psychology and the things, the environment, the culture, the nurture, there's no evidence anywhere within this man's life that would show us why he was so wicked.
Painted by Michelangelo around 1511 to 1512, the Uzziah, Jotham, and Ahaz lunette is located on the south wall of the chapel, part of the Ancestors of Christ series.
The composition. Ahaz's father sits on the left, gazing at a point indicated by a child behind him, while a female figure holding children is on the right. Despite Uzziah appearing absent, it stems from how Michelangelo designed the series.
High Renaissance art appeared between 1490s, around that time, to 1527, and it was basically dominated by Leonardo da Vinci, Michelangelo, Raphael, focusing on the balance of beauty and profound psychological depth to the human species, I suppose. But one of the most highest acclaimed had to be Sistine Chapel, done by Michelangelo, and obviously the one that is the more famous of them all is the hand of God touching the hand of man. But yet in all of this, there is beautiful. He done series upon series taken from the story, the narrative of the Bible, and he done beautiful work demonstrating the human, I suppose, anatomy, the figures, the people, the lives that was lived out, and obviously the one that we're dealing with now, which he took from the book of Matthew, which is found in the genealogy in the Gospel of Matthew. That's where he was inspired to do the one we're looking at now, where Ahaz is in it. And the story of it all is basically a portrait of human life connecting each other in the great tapestry of life. From these particular characters from the Bible found themselves on a ceiling that we can today go and look at from another master who did all this work.
Upon his accession to the throne, Ahaz had to meet a coalition formed by northern Israel, under Pekah, and Syria, under Rezin. These kings compelled him to join them in opposing the Assyrians. They knew that the Assyrians were arming a force against the northern kingdom under Tiglath-Pileser. Isaiah counsels Ahaz to trust in God rather than foreign allies. He tells him to ask for a sign to confirm that this is a true prophecy. Ahaz refuses, saying he will not test God. Isaiah replies that Ahaz will have a sign whether he asks for it or not, and the sign will be the birth of a child, and the child will be called Emmanuel, meaning God with us. Ahaz sought assistance from the Assyrians. Tiglath-Pileser looted Damascus and incorporated Aram.
Rezin was executed. Tiglath-Pileser then attacked Israel.
Ahaz provided reinforcements to Tiglath-Pileser. This was met with stern opposition from the prophet Isaiah. Tiglath-Pileser would die peacefully at an old age. Ahaz would die at 36. Hezekiah, his son, would succeed him. His rule was highlighted by notable religious changes and his uprising against the Assyrian Empire. He observed the devastation of the northern kingdom of Israel and subsequently endured the Assyrian siege of Jerusalem. There was no king of Judah like him before or after. However, King Hezekiah later would sin, which was pride and ingratitude, occurring after God healed him and gave him great wealth. Following a 15-year life extension, Hezekiah failed to honor God, instead showing off his treasures to Babylonian envoys, which led to the prophecy that his descendants would be exiled to Babylon. The king of Assyria would die at the hands of his sons. His wife, during the reign of her son, Nakiah, reached her most prominent position, bearing the titles Mother of the King.